The Vraekther had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. They were massive creatures, standing 9 feet tall, with bodies covered in natural armor that could stop most weapons. Their claws carried venom that could kill in seconds. Their eyes could see in total darkness. They could survive in the emptiness of space for short periods without protection. Every species in the known galaxy feared them. And the Vraekther believed this fear was right and proper. Their homeworld, Vraxis Prime, was a place of nightmares. The gravity crushed bones of weaker creatures. The air itself was poison to most life forms. Predators roamed every corner of the planet, each one more deadly than the last. The Vraekther had evolved in this hell, and they had become the ultimate survivors. They called themselves the Apex Deathworlders, and no one in the galaxy had ever challenged that title. Ambassador Korthax stood in the great chamber of the Galactic Concord, looking down at the assembled delegates from dozens of worlds. Most of these species had been conquered long ago. Some had surrendered without a fight. Others had resisted and learned the cost of defiance. Now they all served the Vraekther Empire, paying tribute and providing labor in exchange for protection. Protection from what? Exactly had never been clear. The Vraekther were the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. But weaker species needed to believe something worse existed out there in the dark between stars. It kept them obedient. "We have discovered a new species," Korthax announced, his mandibles clicking as he spoke. The sound echoed through the chamber. Carbon-based bipeds from a small world at the edge of the galaxy. They call their planet Earth and themselves humans. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing a blue and green world orbiting a yellow star. Data scrolled alongside the image. Population figures, technological assessments, military capabilities. "They have only recently achieved interstellar travel," Korthax continued. "Their ships are slow and primitive. Their weapons are generations behind our own. They will be integrated into the Concord within the standard cycle." None of the delegates spoke. None of them ever did unless Korthax allowed it. This was how things worked. High Commander Draxus received his orders the following day. He was a veteran of 30 campaigns, a warrior who had never known defeat. His carapace bore the scars of 100 battles, each one a mark of honor. Korthax trusted him completely. "Take 40 warships," Korthax instructed. "Make first contact. Explain the terms of integration. If they resist, demonstrate why resistance is foolish." Draxus bowed his massive head. "It will be done, Ambassador." The journey to the Sol System took 3 weeks. Draxus used the time to study everything the scouts had gathered about humans. They were strange creatures, soft and fragile-looking. They had no natural armor, no claws, no venom. Their senses were limited compared to the Vraekther. They needed to breathe constantly and could not survive in vacuum at all. He could not understand how such weak beings had even developed civilization, let alone space travel. Perhaps they had been lucky. Perhaps their world was unusually safe. The scout reports suggested Earth was a moderate environment, nothing special. The humans had probably never faced real challenges. The fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol System. Almost immediately, sensors detected human vessels approaching. Draxus was surprised by their speed. The scouts had reported slower capabilities. He studied the approaching ships with growing confusion. They were small, much smaller than Vraekther warships. Their hulls looked thin and fragile. Sensor readings showed reactor cores positioned in ways that seemed dangerous, almost suicidal. The life support systems appeared to have no redundancy. If anything went wrong on those ships, the crews would die quickly. "They fly in death traps," one of his officers observed. "How are they not afraid?" Draxus had no answer. The lead human vessel requested permission to dock. Draxus granted it, curious to see these creatures in person. He assembled an honor guard of his best warriors, each one a killer many times over. They would demonstrate Vraekther superiority. Through presence alone, the airlock opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. 3 humans walked through. They were even smaller than the holographic images had suggested. The tallest barely reached the middle of Draxus's chest. They wore simple uniforms with no visible armor or weapons. They looked around the Vrakther ship with expressions that seemed more curious than afraid. The one in front was a male with gray hair at his temples and lines around his eyes. He walked with the easy confidence of someone who had never considered the possibility of being threatened. When he reached Draxus, he smiled and extended an empty hand. "Captain Samuel Price," he said. "Welcome to our neighborhood. Hope you brought snacks. This might take a while." Draxus stared at the extended hand, uncertain what to do. No species had ever greeted him this way. Most cowered. Some tried to run. A few had attacked in desperate fear. None had ever smiled at him. The female standing beside Samuel stepped forward. She was smaller still, with dark hair pulled back from her face. Her eyes moved constantly, studying the Vrakther guards with an intensity Draxus found unsettling. "Maria Reyes," she said. "Security chief. Nice ship you have here." The third human was another female, this one carrying a small device that she kept looking at. "Dr. Linda Martinez, Xenobiology. You have no idea how excited I am to meet you. Your physiology is fascinating." Draxus finally found his voice. "You do not seem afraid." Samuel's smile widened. "Should we be? We are the Vrakther. We have conquered every species we have encountered. Our empire spans 1,000 worlds. We are the apex predators of the galaxy." The three humans exchanged glances. Something passed between them that Draxus could not read. It might have been amusement. "Apex predators," Samuel repeated. "That's a big claim. Tell you what, let's go somewhere comfortable and talk about it. I have a feeling we have a lot to discuss." Draxus led them to the diplomatic chamber. His guards followed, weapons ready. The humans walked between them without any sign of concern, talking quietly among themselves and pointing at various parts of the ship. Linda kept making notes on her device. Something was wrong here. Draxus could feel it. These creatures should be terrified. They should be begging for mercy or trying to negotiate from a position of obvious weakness. Instead, they acted as if they were the ones in control. He did not understand, but he would. Soon the humans would learn their place in the natural order of things. Every species did eventually. The Vrakther had never been wrong about their superiority. Draxus saw no reason to believe this situation would be any different. He would realize his mistakes soon enough. The diplomatic chamber was designed to intimidate. Massive columns of dark metal rose toward a ceiling lost in shadow. The walls displayed holographic records of Vrakther victories, showing conquered worlds and broken enemies. A single harsh light illuminated the central table where negotiations would take place. Draxus had seen hundreds of species enter this room. All of them had reacted the same way. Their bodies would tense. Their breathing would quicken. Some would actually start shaking. The room told them everything they needed to know about their situation. The humans looked around with mild interest, as if they were touring a museum. "Nice decorating," Samuel said. "Very dramatic. Who does your interior design?" Draxus felt his mandibles tighten with frustration. He gestured to the seats arranged around the table. "Please sit, we have much to discuss." The humans sat down. Maria positioned herself with a clear view of all the exits. Linda immediately started examining the surface of the table with her device. Samuel leaned back in his chair and waited with an expression of polite attention. Draxus began the speech he had given so many times before. He explained the history of the Galactic Concord. He described the dangers of the universe, the hostile species and natural disasters that threatened all life. He outlined the protection the Vrakther offered, the safety of living under the guidance of the galaxy's strongest species. "In exchange for this protection," he concluded, "your species will provide resources and labor as tribute. This is the standard arrangement. All species in the Concord have accepted these terms." Samuel nodded slowly. "Let me make sure I understand. You want us to give you stuff and work for you, and in return, you promise not to hurt us?" "We promise to protect you from the dangers of the galaxy." "Which are what, exactly?" "Besides you?" Draxus paused. No one had ever asked that question quite so directly. The universe is hostile. There are predator species, cosmic radiation, asteroid impacts, solar events. Survival is not guaranteed, we've noticed. Linda said without looking up from her device. We've been dealing with those things for a while now. Seems like we've managed okay. Samuel leaned forward. Hi, Commander. I appreciate the offer. Really, I do. But before we make any decisions, I have some questions about this classification system your scouts used. He pulled out his own device and projected a document into the air between them. It was the Scout Report on Earth, complete with environmental assessments and danger ratings. This says our planet is a Class 4 death world. You mentioned earlier that yours is Class 7. What exactly do those numbers mean? Draxus explained the classification system. It measured gravity relative to Galactic. I see average atmospheric composition and toxicity, predator density, and lethality, temperature extremes, and natural disaster frequency. Varax's Prime scored near the maximum in every category except temperature. Earth scored moderately high in gravity and predator density, but low in other areas. Interesting, Samuel said. Where did your scouts conduct their observations? Draxus checked the report. Several temperate forest regions, coastal zones, grassland territories. They observed your wildlife and found it largely non-threatening. Some large herbivores, some mid-sized predators. Nothing exceptional. The three humans looked at each other. Linda covered her mouth with her hand. Maria's shoulders started shaking. Samuel made a strange noise that Draxus could not identify. They were laughing, his translation officer informed him. That sound indicates amusement. Draxus felt confusion turn to irritation. What is amusing about this? Samuel regained control of himself. Nothing. Nothing at all. I just have a follow-up question. Did your scouts happen to visit any of our oceans? They observed coastal areas, the deep parts, where the water goes down for kilometers. Draxus checked again. No, the pressure at those depths would be dangerous. What about deserts? We have some really impressive ones. Temperatures over 50 degrees. No water. Sandstorms that can strip flesh from bone. Those areas seemed unnecessarily hostile for a survey. Jungles. We have forests where the trees block all sunlight and everything is trying to eat everything else. Diseases that can kill you in hours. Insects that will lay eggs inside your body. Draxus said nothing. Polar regions. We have places where exposed skin freezes solid in minutes. Storms that can bury entire settlements. Predators specifically designed for hunting in complete darkness. Your scouts, Maria said, her voice calm and pleasant, landed in what we consider nice vacation spots. Safe zones. Places we send children to play. Draxus felt something cold move through his body. It might have been the first hint of doubt. You are suggesting your world is more dangerous than our assessment indicates? Linda finally looked up from her device. Hi, Commander, I've been scanning your physiology since we came aboard. You're impressive. Really, truly impressive. But there are creatures on our world that would consider you a moderate challenge at best. And those are just the animals. I haven't even started on the microorganisms, Materia Samuel said. Viruses, parasites, little things too small to see that can kill you in ways your medical technology has probably never imagined. We've been fighting a war against them for our entire existence as a species. Maria stood up. Would you like to see some footage? We brought samples of our entertainment media. Documentaries about our world. I think you might find them educational. Draxus wanted to refuse. He wanted to dismiss these claims as obvious lies, desperate attempts by a weak species to appear strong. But something in the way these humans spoke made him hesitate. They were not boasting. They were not threatening. They were simply stating facts. The same way one might mention that water is wet. Me, he said. The next 3 hours changed everything, Draxus thought. He knew about the galaxy. He watched footage of human soldiers. Training in conditions that would kill most Vrakther within minutes. He saw humans climb mountains where the air was too thin to breathe, cross deserts that stretched for thousands of kilometers, dive into ocean depths that would crush even armored carapaces. He watched nature. Documentaries that showed creatures more terrifying than anything on Vrax's Prime. Sharks that had been perfect killing machines for millions of years. Insects that formed hive minds and devoured everything in their path. Parasites that took control of their hosts' bodies. And then Maria showed him the historical records. "This is called World War I," she said, her voice flat and emotionless. "Approximately 20 million dead in 4 years. This is World War II, 70 to 80 million dead in 6 years. This is a nuclear explosion. We built weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds, then we pointed them at each other." Draxus stared at the footage of mushroom clouds rising over ruined cities. "You did this to yourselves?" "Constantly," Samuel confirmed. "For as long as we have existed, we have never known lasting peace. We developed bigger weapons and better ways to kill. It's what we do." "Why?" The 3 humans exchanged another look. "We're not really sure," Linda admitted. "Survival instinct, maybe. Competition for resources. Cultural differences. Sometimes we just get angry and stop thinking clearly. We've been trying to figure it out for thousands of years." Draxus sat in silence for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter than before. "Your world. Your true classification. What do you believe it would be?" Samuel smiled, but there was no warmth in it this time. "High Commander, our world tried to kill us every single day of our existence, and we killed it right back. If your system goes up to Class 7, I think you might need to add some new numbers." Draxus made a decision that went against all his training. Instead of demanding immediate submission, he asked to visit Earth. He told himself it was for intelligence purposes, to assess the truth of the human claims. Privately, he needed to know if they were lying. Samuel agreed immediately. "We would love to have you. I'll arrange a full tour. Bring some of your soldiers if you want. The more witnesses, the better." Draxus selected 12 of his finest warriors. Each one had survived dozens of battles. Each one had killed more enemies than they could count. They were the best the Vrakther Empire had to offer, and they followed their commander to the human homeworld with complete confidence in their own superiority. That confidence began to die the moment they landed. Humans had chosen a place called Australia for the first stop. It was a large island continent on the opposite side of the planet from where most humans lived. Their guide was a weathered man named Daniel Cooper who seemed to find everything amusing. "Welcome to my home," Daniel said as they stepped off the shuttle. "Watch where you step. The ground here likes to bite." Draxus assumed this was exaggeration. He was wrong. Within the first hour, 2 of his warriors had been stung by creatures they never saw. The human medics treated them with practiced efficiency, injecting antivenom and monitoring vital signs. Both survived, but they were too weak to continue. "Spiders," Daniel explained casually. "We have about 10,000 species here. Most of them are venomous. You probably didn't see the one that got your men. They're small and fast." He showed them other creatures. Snakes that could kill in minutes. Jellyfish whose sting caused pain so intense that victims begged for death. A small octopus that carried enough venom to kill 20 humans. Crocodiles that had remained unchanged for millions of years because evolution had already made them perfect. "Everything here wants to kill you," Daniel said. "The plants, the animals, even the sunlight. If you stand outside too long without protection, your skin will burn and eventually develop cancer. Millions of people live here anyway. We think it builds character." Draxus watched another of his warriors receive treatment for a jellyfish encounter. The soldier, a veteran of the Crixian campaign, was screaming in agony. "This is a habitable zone?" Draxus asked.
Yes.
"Popular vacation destination," Daniel confirmed. "Families come here. Children play on these beaches," the tour continued. They visited the Amazon rainforest, where the air was so thick with moisture that Draxus struggled to breathe. Linda was their guide for this section. "This is the largest tropical rainforest on Earth," she explained. "It contains approximately 10% of all species on the planet. Most of them are still undiscovered. Many of them are trying to eat each other at any given moment." She showed them parasites that burrowed into living hosts and laid eggs inside their bodies. Fungi that could take over the minds of insects and control their behavior. Plants that had evolved to trap and dissolve animals for nutrients. Ants that formed living bridges with their own bodies to cross obstacles. operating with a collective intelligence that disturbed even Draxus. The indigenous humans here learned to use these things, Linda said. Poisons for hunting, medicines for healing. They turned the deadliest environment on the planet into their home and thrived for thousands of years. One of the Vrakther warriors touched a brightly colored frog out of curiosity. He was dead before the medics could reach him. Poison dart frog, Linda said sadly. The native tribes used their toxins on their weapons. We should have warned you not to touch anything colorful. I'm sorry. Draxus stared at the body of his soldier. This creature had been killed by something smaller than a Vrakther finger. It had not even been trying to kill. It simply existed. And existence in this place meant death. They traveled to other regions. The Sahara Desert, where temperatures soared beyond anything on Varaxis Prime, and the sun could kill in hours. The Arctic, where cold could freeze, flesh solid in minutes, and massive white predators hunted anything that moved. The deep ocean, where pressure would crush even Vrakther armor and creatures hunted in darkness so complete that no natural eye could see. By the end of the tour, Draxus had lost 3 warriors. 3 of the best soldiers in the Vrakther military killed by animals, plants, and environmental conditions that humans considered normal. But the real education came when Maria showed him the human approach to violence. You asked why we fight each other, she said. They were standing in a military museum, surrounded by weapons from every era of human history. The honest answer is that we never stopped. Peace is the exception for us, not the rule. She walked him through the exhibits. Spears and swords from ancient times designed for maximum damage to soft tissue. Guns that evolved from simple projectile launchers to weapons capable of firing hundreds of rounds per minute. Explosives that could level buildings, then cities, then entire regions. We developed biological weapons, Maria said. Diseases engineered to kill specific populations. We developed chemical weapons that melted lungs from the inside. We developed nuclear weapons that could end civilization itself, and you used them. We used the biological and chemical ones. The nuclear ones we mostly pointed at each other as threats, a concept called mutually assured destruction. If you attack us with everything, we destroy you with everything. Nobody wins. Everybody dies. Draxus tried to comprehend this. You would destroy yourselves rather than lose. Every single time, Maria confirmed. Humans do not surrender easily. We have a saying, we would rather die on our feet than live on our knees. Many of us mean it literally. She showed him footage of human conflicts. Soldiers continuing to fight with wounds that should have killed them. Civilians forming resistance movements against overwhelming odds. Entire populations choosing death over submission. We have a physiological response called adrenaline, Maria explained. When threatened, our bodies release chemicals that allow us to ignore pain, increase our strength, and continue functioning despite severe injury. Humans have been known to run on broken legs, fight with missing limbs, and survive wounds that should be immediately fatal. Draxus thought about his fallen warriors. 3 dead, 2 incapacitated, and they had not even faced human opposition. They had simply walked through a human environment and been destroyed by it. What would happen if humans actually tried to fight? He looked at Maria, this small creature who barely reached his chest. She met his gaze without flinching. There was no fear in her eyes. There had never been any fear in any human he had met. You are the ones who should be afraid of us, he said slowly, finally understanding. Not the other way around. Maria smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Now you're starting to get it. The report Draxus sent back to the Galactic Concord caused immediate chaos. Ambassador Korthax read it 3 times. Certain there must be some mistake. The humans could not be what Draxus described. No species from a Class 4 world could be this dangerous. The High Commander must have been deceived, or perhaps he had gone mad. 12,000 years of Vrakther dominance could not be threatened by soft creatures from an unremarkable planet at the edge of the galaxy. Send another assessment team, Korthax ordered. A larger one. I want independent verification of these claims. The assessment team returned after 2 months. Their report was longer than the first one, and even more disturbing. Humans were pursuit predators. Their ancient hunting technique involved chasing prey across long distances until the target collapsed from exhaustion. No other known species used this method. Most predators relied on speed or ambush. Humans simply refused to stop. Their immune systems were aggressive beyond anything in Vrakthar medical literature. Foreign substances entering a human body triggered responses, so violent that the body sometimes destroyed its own tissues in the process. This made them resistant to most known toxins and diseases, but it also meant their biology was constantly at war with itself. They consumed neurotoxins for pleasure: caffeine, alcohol, capsaicin, nicotine. Substances that would kill or incapacitate most species were part of normal human diet and recreation. Their entertainment involved simulated violence, extreme physical challenges, and activities that regularly resulted in serious injury or death. They called these activities sports and games. Millions of humans participated willingly, and their history was an unbroken record of conflict. General Vrseth, commander of the Vrseth military forces, reviewed the report in silence. He was old even by Vrakthar standards, a warrior who had led campaigns across 1,000 worlds. He had never felt fear in battle. He felt something close to it now. "This is a true Deathworld species," he said quietly. "Not like us. We evolved to survive our environment. These creatures evolved to dominate theirs. They broke their world and made it serve them." Korthax refused to accept this conclusion. Pride had always been his weakness, and now it blinded him to reality. "We are the Vrakthar," he declared. "We have ruled this galaxy for 12,000 years. One primitive species cannot challenge our supremacy. I will teach them their place." He assembled a fleet of 100 warships. It was the largest force deployed in 3 centuries, enough firepower to reduce a planet to ash. Korthax would lead it personally. He would accept the humans' surrender, or he would destroy them. There was no third option. The fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system and immediately detected human vessels approaching. Not fleeing, not hiding. Approaching, Korthax studied the tactical display with contempt. The human ships were small and few, perhaps 30 vessels against his 100. Their weapons technology appeared inferior. Their shields were weak. This would be a massacre. Captain Samuel Price opened communications. His face appeared on Korthax's display screen, calm and unhurried. "Ambassador Samuel said, 'We received your message. I'm afraid we're going to have to decline your generous offer.' "You do not have the option to decline," Korthax replied. "You are outgunned and outmatched. Submit now or be destroyed." Samuel was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried a weight Korthax had not heard before. Something cold and hard beneath the pleasant surface. "Here is the thing you need to understand about humans. We have been killing each other for as long as we have existed. We got very, very good at it. We developed weapons your scouts could not even identify because they could not imagine anyone being cruel enough to invent them." The tactical display flickered. New readings appeared. Energy signatures from the human ships that did not match any known weapons technology. "Do you know what happens?" Samuel continued. "When you take a species that has spent its entire existence perfecting the art of violence and give them something external to point at, something they can all agree deserves to be fought." Korthax felt the first stirring of doubt. "You are bluffing." "We finally get to stop fighting each other," Samuel said. "For the first time in our history, we have a common enemy. You should be terrified right now. You should leave while you still can." Korthax ended the communication and gave the order to attack. The battle lasted 47 minutes. Human weapons operated on principles the Vrakthar had never encountered. Directed energy beams that bypassed shields entirely. Kinetic projectiles accelerated to fractions of light speed. Electronic warfare systems that turned Vrakthar computers against their own ships. Biological agents delivered through hull breaches that attacked Vrakthar. Nervous systems specifically. The humans had studied the Vrakthar during the assessment period. They had learned every weakness, every vulnerability, and they had developed weapons to exploit all of them. 60 Vrakthar ships were destroyed in the first exchange. 20 more were disabled in the second. The remaining 20, including Korthax's flagship, attempted to retreat. Human ships pursued them. The concept of pursuit was familiar to the Vraekthor. They had chased fleeing enemies many times, but they had never been chased themselves. They had never experienced what it felt like to be the prey. Korthax's flagship was caught at the edge of the system. Human boarding parties cut through the hull with tools designed for the purpose. They moved through the corridors in small teams, efficient and deadly. The Vraekthor guards, veterans of countless battles, were killed in close combat by creatures half their size. Maria Reyes led the team that reached the bridge. She stepped over Vraekthor bodies without looking at them, her weapon still smoking. "Ambassador Korthax," she said, "you are under arrest for crimes against the people of Earth. You will be treated according to the rules of engagement, which is more than you offered us." Korthax stared at her. His mind could not process what had happened. 1 hour ago, he had commanded the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Now his ships were debris, and his crew was dead or captured. How? He managed. Maria tilted her head. "You thought you were the apex predators? You were wrong. We corrected you." She gestured to her team. "Secure the prisoner. Be careful. With him, humans may be good at killing, but we're also good at mercy. He'll stand trial. Fair and proper." Korthax was led away in chains. The human ships gathered the survivors from the wreckage, providing medical care even to their enemies. It was a contradiction Korthax could not understand. Later, in his cell, he asked Maria about it. "You could have killed us all. Why didn't you?" Maria leaned against the wall outside his cell. "Because that's not who we want to be. We're capable of terrible things. We know that better than anyone. But we're also capable of choosing something different. Today, we chose to be merciful. You destroyed our fleet. You attacked us. We defended ourselves. There's a difference." She paused. "Your people have ruled by fear for a long time. That's over now. What comes next is up to you." Korthax had no answer. He had never considered what might come next. The Vraekthor had never needed to, but humans, it seemed, always planned for what came next. They had survived a hostile universe by always looking forward, always adapting, always finding new ways to endure. The Vraekthor had thought themselves supreme. They had been wrong, and now everything was going to change. The news of the Vraekthor defeat spread across the galaxy faster than any official communication could travel. Species that had been subjugated for thousands of years heard whispers of the impossible. A small, soft, fragile-looking species had destroyed a Vraekthor battle fleet in less than an hour. The apex Deathworlders had been humbled. For many conquered peoples, it was the first hope they had felt in generations. High Commander, Draxus was recalled from Earth and brought before the Galactic Concord. The remaining Vraekthor leadership expected him to face punishment for his failure to warn them adequately about the human threat. Instead, they found themselves listening as he explained what he had learned. "We made a fundamental error," Draxus told them. "We assumed that, because we were strong, nothing could be stronger. We looked at humans and saw creatures without armor, without venom, without natural weapons. We judged them by our standards and found them lacking." He activated a holographic display showing Earth. In all its terrifying beauty, their world is not class for it. Is beyond any classification we have developed. They survive conditions that would kill us in hours. They eat poisons for recreation. They break their own bodies for entertainment. And when they face a threat, they do not run or hide or submit. They fight. They always fight. General Vraxith spoke from his seat among the military council. "What do you recommend, High Commander?" Draxus took a deep breath. "I recommend we ask for peace. On their terms." The outcry was immediate. Thousands of years of Vraekthor pride demanded rejection of such humiliation. They were the dominant species. They did not ask for peace. They dictated it. But Draxus waited for the noise to fade, then played the recording of the battle. The council watched their warships die. They watched Korthax captured like a common criminal. They watched humans provide medical care to wounded Vraekthor, treating enemies with compassion that made no strategic sense. They could have killed everyone, Draxus said. They chose not to. That is not weakness. That is strength we do not understand yet. I suggest we try to learn. The vote was closer than anyone expected. But in the end, survival instinct overcame pride. The Vrakther would seek peace. Samuel Price received the request with no visible surprise. He had expected it. Humans had spent their entire history learning how conflicts ended, and he had known the Vrakther would eventually choose survival over extinction. We will meet, he said. But understand something. We are not interested in replacing your empire with our own. We have enough trouble governing ourselves. The negotiations took place on a neutral station at the edge of both territories. Draxus led the Vrakther delegation. Samuel led the human side, accompanied by Linda and Maria and dozens of specialists in everything from trade to terraforming. The first sessions were tense. The Vrakther expected demands for tribute, for submission, for all the things they had imposed on others for millennia. The humans wanted something different. Partnership, Samuel explained. Equal standing in a reformed galactic concord. No species above any other. Trade based on mutual benefit, not coercion. Defense agreements that protect everyone, not just the powerful. Draxus studied the human with confusion. You could demand anything. You have proven you are stronger. Why do you offer equality? Samuel leaned back in his chair. Because we have tried the other way. Empires that rule by force always fall eventually. The resentment builds up, the rebellions come, and everything collapses. We have seen it in our own history over and over. Cooperation lasts longer than conquest. That is not how the universe works. Then we will change how the universe works. The treaty was signed after 3 months of negotiation. The Galactic Concord was reformed into a true council of equals, with representatives from every member species having an actual voice. The tribute system was abolished. The military hierarchy was restructured around mutual defense rather than dominance. It was not a smooth transition. Many Vrakther resented the loss of their supremacy. Some attempted to resist the changes, forming rebellions that the new Concord had to address. But humans proved as effective at peacekeeping as they were at warfare. They preferred negotiation to violence, but they were very good at violence when it became necessary. The other species of the former empire emerged from thousands of years of subjugation with varying reactions. Some were grateful. Some were angry about lost time and lost lives. Some were terrified of the humans who had accomplished what they never could. Linda. Martinez established research institutes across Concord space, bringing together scientists from hundreds of worlds to share knowledge that had been hoarded for millennia. Diseases that had plagued entire species were cured within years. Technologies that had been kept secret were shared freely. Maria Reyes created a security force that patrolled the trade routes and protected the weak. She recruited from every species, building something that had never existed before, a multi-spaces military united by purpose rather than fear. And Samuel Price, eventually, stood before the reformed Galactic Assembly and gave a speech that would be remembered for centuries. "We are not special," he said. The assembly chamber was packed with representatives from 200 worlds, all watching the small human at the center of the vast space. "We are not better than you or more important than you. We survived a difficult world and a violent history, but survival alone does not make us wise or good." He paused, looking around at the assembled species. Many of them still feared humans. He could see it in their body language, their positioning, their reluctance to make direct eye contact. "What makes us valuable is the same thing that makes all of you valuable. We endured. We adapted. We found ways to keep going when everything was trying to stop us. Every species here has done the same thing. Every species here has earned its place in the universe through struggle and sacrifice." He stepped forward, his voice growing stronger. The Vrakther called themselves the Apex Deathworlders. They were wrong, but not because humans are stronger. They were wrong because there is no apex. The universe is too big, too strange, too too full of wonders and terrors for any species to claim supremacy. We are all survivors. We are all Deathworlders in our own way. General Vrakesith watched from the Vrakther section of the assembly. He had fought against this new order. He had believed humans would prove to be tyrants worse than his own people. He had been wrong. The humans did not rule. They helped. They shared. They protected without demanding submission. It was a new kind of strength. Vraksith was still learning to understand it. Today we begin something new, Samuel continued. A galaxy where strength is measured by what you build, not what you destroy. Where power comes from cooperation, not domination. Where every species has a voice, and every voice matters. He smiled, and for once, there was no hidden edge to it. Just hope. The Vrakther thought they were correcting us when they came to our system. Instead, we corrected them. But the lesson was not about who is stronger. The lesson is that the old ways do not work. Fear and violence and subjugation are failures. They always fail eventually. He looked directly at the recording devices that would broadcast his words across 1,000 worlds. The new way is harder. It requires trust and patience and the ability to see enemies as potential friends. Humans are not naturally good at these things. We have been killing each other for our entire history, but we are trying. We are learning, and we invite you to learn with us. The assembly was silent when he finished. Then, slowly, the applause began. It spread from the humans in the observation galleries to the species who had suffered most under Vrakther rule, to the neutral worlds who had watched from the sidelines. Even some, Vrakther joined in. Not many, not yet. But some Draxus stood among his people, adding his voice to the growing sound. He had been the first to see what humans truly were. He had been the first to understand now, watching Samuel Price accept the applause of a changed galaxy. He felt something he had never expected to feel toward a former enemy. He felt respect. The humans had been right. They were not apex predators. They were something much more dangerous and much more valuable. They were builders. They were healers. They were teachers, and they were just getting started.